Okay, it's now 7:37. I'd like to call the meeting to order, the regular council meeting. Sorry for the delay. We had a committee of the whole meeting prior to this. The Village of Anmore would like to open our meeting by recognizing the many Indigenous peoples of our area, including the following First Nations with communities that are located in the region that we now know as Metro Vancouver: Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Coquitlam. Further, we'd like to honor the place in history occupied by the many territorial keepers. Okay. I'd like to approve the agenda. However, it's amended by adding 11C, which is the 2026 Sunnyside MUP Improvement Tender Award. Do I have a motion for that? Seconded? All in favor? Carried unanimously. So we move to public input. If there's anybody here that would like to speak, please get up and do so now. You have 2 minutes for any item on the agenda. Okay, we'll move on to delegations. There's no delegations. Adoptions of the minutes from the regular council meeting held on June 16th, 2026. Recommendation that the minutes of the regular council meeting on that date be adopted as circulated. Any comments? No? Okay. Vote, please. Carried unanimously. Okay. Is there any business arising from the minutes? Kim? No? Okay. Based on that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there any council members who would wish to remove an item for further discussion may do so at this time? Is there anything that anybody would like to remove? I would like to remove one thing. Hang on. The Village of Belcarra OCP Amendments 7.d. I guess I have the power to do that on my own. Okay. So shall we move the consent agenda minus that item? Seconded. Any discussion? None? Vote in favor? Passed. Okay, on 7C, or 7D, my one comment is, and it's a small item, but because Belcarra highlighted everything in this very brilliant yellow type, I noticed on page 20 of their letter, and it's a weird number on here, 70 of our agenda, on table 3, they have a mistake at the bottom. At least I think it's a mistake. It says total new units for 5 years. I believe that's supposed to say total new units for 20 years. And just out of courtesy, I think we should send a note and let them know. Is that okay?
Yeah, staff can certainly email them.
Okay. Do we have to move that you do that or nope? Okay.
No, that's
perfect. So based on that, I would like to pass 7D. Seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Legislative reports, section 9A. The report dated from the Manager of Development Service attached. Are we speaking to that, Mr. Boyd? Mr. Boyd.
Thank you, Councillor Richardson. Okay, so the purpose of the report is to submit the official community plan bylaw amendment number 726-2025 to Council for consideration of adoption. So the background, a public hearing was held with respect to the OCP bylaw amendment on April 21st, 2026. The amendment included in the bylaw can be characterized as a combination of statutory requirements related to planning for housing and regional planning, the inclusion of supporting policy adjustments, as well as a number of housekeeping changes. The amendment should also include new development permit guidelines and an updated regional context statement. So, following the close of the public hearing on April 21st, 2026, Council considered the bylaw and passed the following motion: that the Village of Anmore OCP bylaw amendment number 726-2025 be given third reading, and that following third reading of the Village of Anmore Official Community Plan Bylaw Amendment number 726-2025, the regional context statement contained within the bylaw number 726-2025 be referred to Metro Vancouver Regional District Board of Directors for acceptance. The regional context statement was referred to Metro Vancouver as directed by Council. Metro Vancouver Board considered Anmore's updated regional context statement on June 26, 2026 and passed the following motion. That the MVRD Board, A, accept the Village of Anmore's regional context statement as attached to the report dated May 10th, 2026, titled Metro Vancouver 2050 Regional Context Statement, Village of Anmore, and notify the Village of Anmore of the decision, and B, include in the correspondence to the Village of Anmore that for future updates to the official community plan and regional context statement, the city is requested to review and consider opportunities for further alignment as identified in the report dated May 10th, 2026, titled Metro Vancouver 2050 Regional Context Statement, Village of Anmore. In line with the Local Government Act's request to show how the official community plan is to be made consistent with the regional growth strategy over time. The correspondence is attached. So discussion, given that all statutory requirements have been met, including the acceptance of the regional context statement by Metro Vancouver Official Community Plan Bylaw number 726-2025 is now ready for consideration. Prior to putting the recommendation on the table for vote, I did want to make a note. It was brought to our attention that there is a minor error on the DPA map 2. Which is page, I have it here for you, is 329, that the park parcel as shown on the Court of Addo development is actually shown highlighted as residential. However, this minor inconsistency has no real impact, as the case is that the parkland actually has no developable rights, so therefore the DPA wouldn't be considered a matter at that point in time, because they couldn't actually put any residential housing in the park. So therefore, even though it's an inconsistency, it has no real bearing on the OCP.
If I may, just on that point,
Yep.
In future, can we just change it to green? Or does that mean you have to redo everything?
I refer to the corporate officer. Yeah.
You would need an amendment.
So what was that, sorry?
You would need an amendment.
So we have to amend the whole bylaw
And then we have
process
to go back to.
all over
okay.
again. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Fair
what we will do is we'll keep it as a housekeeping item, that if we go through and look to update again, we would change that appendix in the future. Okay. Councillor Richard would like, I can put the recommendation on the table for us, which is that the Village of Anmore Official Community Plan Bylaw Amendment number 726-2025 be now adopted.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, on to any unfinished business. We have none. New business. 11A, the Dr. Hell Weinberg Spirit Park Tender Award. I pass the floor to the engineering consultant.
It's me again. So the purpose of this report is to provide council with an update on the Dr. Hal Weinberg Spirit Park upgrade project and provide a recommendation for the tender award. So the village issued a tender 26-03 Spirit Park expansion project using MMCD contract. 3 addendums were issued during the tender period. The tender closed on June 26, 2026, and we received 6 bids. The bids ranged from 1.75 million to just under $3 million, that's excluding GST, and the lowest tender was submitted by White Star Property Services at $1.75223.22. Staff have reviewed, as well as the engineering consultant, have reviewed the White Star submission and confirmed that the tender is compliant with the requirements and the instruction to tenderers, and the form of tender arithmetic is correct. And they've also been verified. Staff have also contacted references provided and confirmed that the firm's performance on projects of comparable scope and value are consistent. We feel confident that they can provide the service required. On that basis, staff recommend that council award the contract for Spirit Park to White Star in the amount of $1,752,232 $23.22, excluding GST. Just one note, you will note in the bidders list that one of the applicant tenderers have been crossed out is because it was a non-conforming bid. They did not submit the correct form of tender. If you like, I can put the recommendation on the table.
Please put the recommendation.
The council received the report dated July 3rd, 2026, titled Dr. Hal Weinberg Spirit Park Tender Award for information, and that staff, that award the contract for tender 26-03 Spirit Park expansion to White Star Property Services in the amount of $1,725,223.22, excluding GST.
Motion's on the floor. Can I have a mover? Seconder? Is there any discussion? Councillor Everett?
This is based on the latest iteration of the Spirit Park plan. There were no significant changes from that.
Yeah, so this was all based on the last report that was brought to council.
Okay.
With those, I think we called it option 3 in
Right.
the last council report. So there was the stripped back version to make sure we brought it under the allowed amount that we provided in the 5-year capital spending plan.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Trowbridge?
Thank you. Yeah, Chris, I think I heard you say it, but I just want to be, because of the wide variance, I want to be 100% sure we have checked every one of their items to make sure they didn't miss anything in scope. Do we feel confident
Correct.
that, yeah,
Yeah, so as part of that, Councillor Trowbridge, we provide as part of the tender package a thing called a tender form of tender, which is a schedule of quantities for all the units, and every tenderer had to fill out each individual item and then carry the costs. We checked that arithmetic and made sure that it was all correct and present.
so what percentage of the tender would be costs that we've asked them to carry? That are you saying that there are certain materials or costs that we already know the value of and ask them to carry those?
So the way that unit tender price works is that we say we've already just calculated based on design. Let's just say there's 6,000 cubic meters of excavation is required. They have to price what it would cost for each individual 1 meter cube of excavation. And so let's just say they put that at $100 for each of that. They would then carry that cost across, which would equate to, 6,000 multiplied by 100. So that's $600,000 that line item would equate to. And then we add up all of those totals to bring us to the final cost.
Okay, so everyone carries the same numbers, and then
Correct.
the variables are their labor numbers and what they pad their bill and all that kind of stuff.
Correct. It's the unit rate price that changes through the tender.
Okay, that makes sense to me. And just out of curiosity, because I'm a big fan of Jacob Brothers, do you have a sense of why they're so out of bounds?
No, this, to be perfectly frank, is a common occurrence in unit rate contracts. Some people are hungry, some people aren't so hungry, some people feel like they want to put a bid in. So I've seen variances like this in the past. I haven't gone to Jacob Brothers and asked them specifically why. I can, to be perfectly frank, just experience tells us that there are a number of different factors. They might have priced risk differently within the contract compared to others. They may already have a full, book already, so they're not overly hungry, so they're not having aggressive pricing. You never know. It's all these different pieces, and typically the perfect rank contractors don't really want to give you a detailed breakdown because that's commercial, decisions and what have you from that point.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Any further discussion? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Motion carried. On to 11B, the Build Community Strong Fund grant application. Is staff giving anything on this? Yes, okay.
Yes, thank you, through the chair. So the federal government recently announced a funding program to support a variety of capital projects, which include community infrastructure under the Build Communities Strong Fund. So this evening, staff is just seeking direction from council to proceed with a grant application under this funding opportunity for the fire hall replacement project. So this grant application would be with Metro Vancouver as the owner of the asset and with Belcara as the other partner for the fire department service. So we're just looking for a recommendation that we can put along with our grant application. Staff has met with Metro Vancouver and Belcara regarding submission of the application. And I understand also that Mayor McEwen has met with MP Royer and others related to supporting our application. So the recommendation this evening would be that staff be directed to apply in coordination with Metro Vancouver Regional District and Village of Belcara to the Build Community Strong Fund direct delivery stream for the Sassamat Volunteer Fire Department Fire Hall Replacement Project for the fire halls located in Village of Anmore and Village of Belcara. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Moved, seconded. Any discussion on the matter? Councillor Trowbridge.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm a big fan of pursuing this grant as long as we have the resources to do so, and I assume we do, but it could be very, very helpful to us.
Okay, and I have a question, if I may. Because we're in this weird situation that the regional district essentially is our fire service supplier, are there any discussions or ideas like through other communities that if their fire supply is supplied by the regional district, that it's okay for this grant? Or does it have to be the thing itself? Has there been any looking into that? Like it's not, we're not buying the fire halls, Metro Vancouver's buying the fire halls. So the grant as in here would go to Metro Vancouver and not really us. And I'm wondering how that affects it, or if there's been any discussion if that would affect it at all.
Well, the grant funding would have to go to Metro Vancouver as they are the owner of the asset, which is the fire hall, but it would be applied to this project. So the application would go in for this project jointly with the three entities, Belcara, Anmore, and Metro Vancouver, but the actual funds would be relayed to Metro Vancouver and they would need to report on the grant and the spend and the costs.
Okay, thank you. I'm actually in great favor of this as well, but it's always a bit more complicated when the way our system is set up. Councillor Reverend?
It essentially just means that we're going to be taxed less.
I understand what it means.
Yeah.
Like I'm all for the money.
Yeah,
It's just,
the mechanics are, yeah,
yeah.
strange, but at the end of the day, we pay less.
Okay. Any further discussion? Call the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, on to item 11C, Sunnyside MUP Improvement Tender Award.
I'm back. Okay, so the purpose of this report is to provide council with an update on the 2026 Sunnyside MUP improvement project and provide a recommendation for the tender award. The acronym MUP, just so everyone knows, is multi-use user pathway. Okay. Okay, background, the village issued a tender number 26-02, 2026 Sunnyside MUP improvement using the MMCD unit price contract. The two addenda were issued during the tendering period. The tender closed on June 30th, 2026. 5 tenders were received and evaluated. So discussion, the 5 tenders were received for the MUP improvement project. They were ranging from $990,487 to $1.417 million, excluding GST. The lowest tender was submitted by New Roads Construction, Inc. at $990,487. Staff and the consultants have reviewed the New Roads Construction submission and confirmed that the tender is compliant with the requirements of the contract. The arithmetic in the form of tender summary sheet has been verified and is correct. Staff have also contacted, that should be corrected, it's not staff have corrected, the consultant has contacted the references provided by New Roads Construction and confirmed the firm's performance on projects previously comparable to scope and value of the same piece of the MUP project. On this basis, staff recommend the council award the contract for tender 26-02, 2026 Sunnyside Map Improvements to New Roads Construction in the amount of $990,000, 487 cents, excluding GST. Happy to put the recommendation on the page for council?
Please do.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, so the council award the contract for the tender of 26-02-2026 Sunnyside MUP improvement to New Roads Construction, Inc. in the amount of $990,487, excluding GST.
Do I have somebody to move it? Any discussion? Councilor Reverend.
Okay, I have trouble passing this because I don't know any details. What is this?
So, yeah, this was originally, this has been in the capital plan. This is to extend our current multi-user pathway where it currently stops at Alder Way
Yeah,
and continuing it up to East Road.
okay, so that was my second question. So starting at Alder Way, all the ditches are going to get filled in?
Yeah.
My complaint about some of the pathways we've done, our roads seem to be getting narrower. Now, I guess it doesn't matter if we have a multi-use pathway because now we've got a bike lane. My other question would be, are we going to provide parking? Like if you look at the east side of Sunnyside, kind of where it starts to go down the hill and it turns, it's quite wide there.
Yeah.
Are we going to be incorporating parking there?
Not under this project.
Why? It seems like an easy thing for overflow parking for village events.
What I would say, we have just passed Spirit Park, where
Right.
we're increasing parking, and we've got additional parking there on Ravenswood as well. One of the reasons that typically on bends, you'll see the roads widen, it's on purpose to provide additional space as you turn. It isn't so much for cars, but it's normal for larger vehicles, which have those larger turning radii. So
So you don't think there'd be adequate space
we,
there
we
for
can,
parking?
I can get staff to look at this and review it to see if.
Because I think on Sunnyside, remember when we had the vegetable garden growing? That
Yes.
could have been parking. I mean, I'm not saying
Yeah.
it should have been, but I'm just thinking, I mean, I know we're doing this parking, but it'll fill up too. And I just think for events, it might be nice to have some overflow parking. Might be just nice to have some parking in the village. I still say I think we went too far with our parking bylaws, that we've become unfriendly to people that just want to come to the village and go for a walk somewhere. There's nowhere to park. So I don't know. I just think I would have really liked to seen that investigated. I don't know how many parking spots you'd get, maybe 10, 12. There seems to be a place there, but it is fairly wide there. Like once the ditch is filled in.
We can certainly take it away and review it and bring back a recommendation to council if that's direction for council, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any other comments from council, but I just don't want to see a missed opportunity, disappear at the optimum time. That's all I have to say.
So, any comments? No. So like Council Weverink, I had the same concern. I didn't actually know what this tender encompassed. I remember seeing a drawing or a discussion that was taking it all the way to the campground. And I'm going, but we already have a path, but the path is too narrow or something, and then it was going to go the other way around the fire hall. So it's strictly Alder to East Road.
And it's also widening out that existing pathway as well.
Which widening out which existing?
So from more or less most of the portions, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so it'll go from East Road, the widening section will go from East Road to Bunsen Lake, that pathway.
And how much width are we getting for what dollar?
It's roughly about another meter to to 1.5 meters additional.
For,
So the reason being is, as part of TransLink's requirements for funding, ultimately the pathway needs to meet minimum standards for a multi-user pathway, and that is specified as a minimum of 2.8 meters, but typically they want it to be 3 meters or wider. And so currently it's roughly about 1.8 meters at its narrowest and about 2 meters in other areas. So when we first built the that facility, we're trying to get our best bang for buck and put in a facility of that actual, let's say, standard in the village for the first time. And we wanted to make sure that we actually put in a pathway that didn't go from one spot and then terminate somewhere where you then ended up having to walk onto the roadway. So we stretched out that budget as much as possible previously to get to that usable size. And now we have to start going back to meet TransLink's requirements to the ultimate size.
okay, so just for my own picture in my head,
Yeah.
we're not going to dig up the current one and repave the whole thing? We're
Only a
just
small,
going to,
some portions of it, we will remove all of it because it's more economical to do that instead of just add it on a little bit. Because if you add on just a small slither of asphalt, you end up having to use what we call hand-laid asphalt,
Yeah, I
which
know.
looks messy, doesn't look good, doesn't ride well, and ultimately you're actually paying more because it's not being machine placed. Like you've got physical labor placing it and then rolling it. So sometimes it's just more economical to remove just the top layer of asphalt. You would leave all the gravel and everything else that's already been placed. So you'd just be placing a wider piece of asphalt typically.
okay, and for the benefit of Anmore residents, Anmore itself only pays 25% of this?
Correct.
So this is, a lot of this is to encapsulate the grant.
Yes.
Okay.
If I can just add to address Councillor Wevering's comment, and this is also related to the grant, we have this MUP project as part of the grant and part of that TransLink spend. So we would also have to investigate whether we would be able to add any parking facility to that. Currently, it's not incorporated in that project. So I just want to caution that if we certainly could investigate from an engineering perspective whether the space would be allowable for parking, but I would just caution adding it into the plan without us having that project portion approved as part of that 75% funding.
So I can tell you categorically, if you added parking stalls, it would not qualify for the 2575 allocation because that 2575 that comes from TransLink comes from variable different pots, but they're basically related to bike infrastructure or walking infrastructure. So that's what those kind of, the active transportation would be the best way to describe it.
Okay, if I may? Yeah, I think we should just leave our options open, like if that's gonna frustrate the grant or anything. But I'd love to see it so that in the future, we could take that grass strip if we needed to and make it parking.
Yep.
Okay,
And just for one more clarification, the rough split of costs between Alder and East Road to the campground?
I don't have the defined numbers in front of me. The last time I remember viewing it, I think it was roughly about $800,000 from Alder up to East Road, and then the other portion that's left over is for the widening works.
Okay. Okay, any further discussion? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, the mayor's report, well, he's not here. Councilor's report, anybody? Okay, so I have one small thing, because it's been driving me nuts for, probably 3 months, is these kids on their frickin' scooters zipping around. And the problem I have, and I'm going to propose something, is I was walking my dog the other day, and there was 3 little girls, I'm going to say 12 years old, and one of them had a smaller child on the back. When they got to the corner of East Road and Sunnyside, they kitty cornered across from the sidewalk into the village hall. The first 2 did, and the other one went across the crosswalk, and they met up again at the crosswalk. And there was cars coming, and the car had to slam on its brakes. It was turning left onto East Road. So I don't know what our role in this is. We send something out to our residents saying, like, somebody's going to die. Like, and these kids are just zipping around, and they were young, and there was no, I don't know what control we have. Like, it was very scary to me.
Through the chair, I know that Coquitlam RCMP certainly and other detachments have been putting out a lot of messaging related to these safety issues. So we certainly could look for some of their messages and re-amplify them through our social media and our email notification, which reaches quite a vast number of our residents. We can certainly look to do that.
Do you think that's a really good idea? Does it need a motion to do that? Okay, nope. Anybody else? Nope. Chief Administrator Officer's report, please.
Thank you. Just a reminder again that we're still in stage 3 watering restrictions and also lots of reports and activity out there with our wildlife friends. So please make sure that you are securing your garbage, recycling, and organics, that you're putting the carts out only on collection day and securing them at other times, and that you're removing any outdoor food attractants, particularly this time of year. Thank you.
Okay, we have a few information items. There's some general correspondence from the City of Delta regarding the independent review of the Fraser River Tunnel project. Correspondence from the Life Saving Society BC Yukon branch regarding national drowning prevention, and correspondence from the District of Oak Bay regarding local government climate action program funding. Now move on to public input and question period. Anybody like to come up? You have 2 minutes. Please come up.
I'll just pull it down just like that. Okay, Nancy Maloney, 1724 East Road. And oh, Doug, I'm also concerned about the e-scooter issue, related to public safety. And Karen, I could potentially be wrong on this. This has been in the media a lot. It's not just an issue here in Anmore. It's an issue, metro-wide. And I think legally, I think a person has to be at least 16 years old to be permitted to use an e-scooter. I think there is some sort of legislation, but I could be wrong, that persons under the age of 16 are not legally even allowed to be using an e-scooter, and whether it's municipal or other types of regulations. But I know in some places, there's prohibitions about where an e-scooter can be used. I see Chris is shaking his head, that some places I think they can't be used on sidewalks, perhaps. Yeah, is that a provincial regulation or in the 16 years old? Anyway, the young children who are using these devices are in violation of the law is the reality of the situation. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sorry? Yeah, I'm not positive about that, but I think I have heard that. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Anyway, for sure, we don't want to be experiencing any more, car-related deaths in Anmore. The several that have happened are several too many. Mm-hmm.
Completely agree.
Was a child. Sorry?
Completely agree.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Anything else?
And thanks for bringing this up. No, that's good.
Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Lisa Johnston, 180 Hemlock. I have a question, and I don't know if it's to staff or who. I attended a coffee session this morning. Hines is a gentleman who does safety, fire safety. He's doing an educational event down at Inlet Theatre. So anyway, we were talking about fire safety here. Is it possible for us to find out about community rain barrels that we can use in times like this when water resources are restricted, but also for fire if it happens? Like, does like garbage cans are bought in bulk for the village? Is it possible to get a contract for homeowners to get rain barrels if they want? Do you know? Has that ever been a thing up here? I don't know. I know you look so confused, but yeah, there's so many people that I'm willing to take my watering can and dip it into my,
Councillor Roivering has some thoughts.
Good.
Well, we don't have a community rain barrel.
No, we don't, but like a community purchase.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like a buy in bulk homeowners, if we get a contract of 400 of them, because we are in a high risk area for fires, et cetera. Is it something useful to consider? I don't know.
Well, I know there's lots of resources on the internet. I was just looking at one the other day, how to just build one. And,
I'm not gonna build one.
well, you don't have to build. I mean, you basically, it's a really simple list of things from the Home Depot that you
Even
can
just put a
create.
garbage can underneath your
Yeah,
downspout.
something like that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But no, we've never really
Nobody's there,
discussed it.
okay.
Yeah, sorry.
From a different point of view, other than conserving water, if there was a fire going on, I would turn on my hose.
Well,
Rather than use
this
a-
is what this gentleman was saying today. He was talking about, you know, in some places, the water is actually shut off or can be shut off if a fire.
Oh.
So then what happens? And then you're hooped because you can't rely on the municipal water source. So then, you know, I mean, there's actually people that have got the sprinklers installed on the roof too. So
I would defer to my engineer.
I'm just
and
gonna buy
can
garbage
Port
cans for
Moody
my
ever
yard.
shut our water off?
don't shut the water off.
Mr. Engineer?
I mean, I can make a quick comment on it. So typically our municipal systems are developed to ensure that there is residual water within our pipes when we have a fire. You know, however, you know, if you think about like in California, that was something that happened in the California fires, that they literally ran out of all water, right? And so, you know, would a rain barrel help stop a wildfire? No is the answer. It would still, you know, you'd only be able to use it to water your garden type thing. It isn't really going to do too much. You know, if you really want to put redundancy in, you'd have to have some sophisticated private system on your property to be able to, you know, facilitate sprinklers and all the other kind of bits and pieces.
Actually, from my perspective, one of the best things Anmore is doing, at least in the plans, is to put the reservoir up at the top. Because then we have water and pressure for fire from more than we have currently, is my understanding. So.
A couple things related to the water issue. We actually, can you hear Doug? Okay, we actually have a real rain barrel that was given to us by someone some long time ago. I can't even remember who gave it to us. So if anyone wants to see an official rain barrel, but it's never been very useful. Like it's got an enclosed top, and then it's got a screen on the top to keep things from going into the rain barrel, and then it has a little spout on the bottom. But it doesn't really give you adequate water, you know, even for watering your plants. But nonetheless, we have one sitting in our yard. But once, many, many years ago, like I know there's, I won't mention any names because this might actually be illegal, but I know there are people who are using, you know, the well systems, which were once on our property, their properties. Our property was once on a well. Long time ago, very long ago, I called the village and asked, could we repurpose, and actually our house was built by Joe Keno's grandparents long ago. Anyway, there is some well capacity on our property. So I asked, like, other people that we knew were using well water for watering, you know, how could we find out how to repurpose the well, which is somewhere still on our property, so that we're not using village property water for this purpose. And we were told that that would be illegal to do. So we never pursued it any further. But I know there are people who are using well water for such things like watering, which definitely is, in times of great water shortage, like Karen was explaining recently, it seems like that would be a somewhat desirable thing for these existing well capacities to be repurposed to augment, you know, our municipal water supply. But anyway, at the time we were told that we couldn't pursue trying to reconnect our well for things like watering. They said, no, that would be illegal, that we weren't permitted to do that. But this was a long time ago.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Anybody else? Motion to adjourn? All in favor? Aye. Adjourned.